Hey everybody, it's Amanda from LHL Organizing, and today we're going to do another episode of going extreme minimalist. We're going to go extreme minimalist today in the kitchen. So a lot of people have asked and wondered how to go extreme in a kitchen, and honestly I think this is a very individual area that it's going to be really hard for you to copy me exactly. But we're going to show it to you anyway, and I'll talk through kind of how I'm making decisions and give you an idea of kind of how I cook so that you can decide what matches and what doesn't. So you'll have to adapt it for yourself, of course. But I think this room is maybe like 8 by 10 perhaps. We mapped it out. I did the kitchen remodel. I should know the dimensions, but it's been years now. So these uppers are all original, all the way on these two walls. I have a doorway that the camera's sitting in and a doorway to the dining room that is just right next to the stove. There's a tiny 4-inch space there because the refrigerator sticks into the doorway a little bit. So the door to the outside and the basement is where the camera is, and to the right over here is a tiny little broom closet that is actually in the hallway, and then the refrigerator. So it's a counter depth refrigerator, and it still didn't quite have enough room to completely tuck. And then we added a cabinet above it, but it's a very narrow cabinet, so it's pushed all the way back. It could have been deeper, but the vent is over there. So clearly the stove used to live in that corner, and the fridge was probably where the stove is, because this cabinet was high, but not as high. So we modified it to fit the microwave, and then it required us to add this little cubby thing here. And underneath of it, which you can't see terribly well, I've done a lot of videos on this stuff. You're welcome to look through all the other stuff as well. But this is a blind corner cabinet. So it has pull-outs here, and then this is my only top level drawer. So I have tip outs under the sink. And then on this side, I'm going to show you pans every once in a while, but on this side we have the dishwasher. It's a dishwasher drawer, and they call it a drawer dishwasher. And then right below it is a deep pull-out drawer. So this is a cabinet that's designed for a microwave, I believe. And instead we put a drawer dishwasher in there, and it gave me more storage because I went from an apartment complex that had, you know, its size, its footprint probably wasn't much bigger. I would guess the bar pushed out of this space more. The walking space would be pretty similar, but it would have surrounded cabinets on 3 sides. So I lost like an entire half set of cabinets over here, an entire bank of cabinets where the window is, because there was no window in that kitchen. They would have had a little bit over the stove, all that jazz, but we moved that over here. So I lost a lot of uppers because that kitchen had a ton of uppers. And then I really don't have lowers hardly at all. So it used to be a bank of drawers on one side, and then a normal one cabinet for a lower. And then there was just a gap between the stove and the counter. And so we just added some more bar space because it was kind of rough to have just a little bit on either side of the sink, and you couldn't really walk into the space beside the stove and even get into that stuff. So anyway, it's been reconfigured, but it's a much smaller kitchen. So I did massive amounts of decluttering multiple times to try to fit into the space. So we're gonna hit it again, this time being very extreme. So my goal is that if I haven't used it in 3 months, or if I think I could get away with using something else, I'm going to go ahead and pull it out. So I do have some dishes in the dishwasher. I think it's pretty minimal right now. So it's like maybe a cup and a couple of plates and silverware. I've really left my full set of silverware because I don't know, why not? It takes up the same amount of space either way. I've left it in there this whole time. My niece is really, both my niece and my nephew are really into, like, we pull out 6 pieces of silverware for every meal. So if there was less to pull out, it actually would be less trouble, but it's kind of entertaining right now. So I'm not worried about that. But I am gonna go through, I'm gonna have to lower the camera for the low organizing, which will be the easier part, but really where all of the excess lives is probably in the uppers. I maintain the lowers pretty decently. And we'll pull that stuff out, and I'm gonna be aggressive and put it in the basement for a while as the quarantine. There's other stuff that's actually in the basement. So I do wanna show that to you too, so that you don't not have the full picture. I have not used, I think, any of it in the basement. It essentially is like the smallest of the pan sets and the biggest, except for the skillet. I have the biggest skillet, but there's like a huge wok in there, and I just make my stir fry in the 11-inch skillet. It really hasn't been a problem, especially on an electric stove. I really miss the way that fire cooks, but for the electric stove, I don't notice that the wok really distributes well, the heat very well to function like it really should. So I've just been using the skillet, and the wok is sitting down there. So my large sauce pot is also, I think, do I have it up here? We'll have to check. The large sauce pot might be up here because I used to cook noodles in it. Lately, I've only been doing 1 serving of noodles for myself, and so I have the medium one in there. But it wouldn't take very many servings before you'd need the big one. I just don't cook for people much. If I do, it's been steaks. So yeah, we'll just get into it, right? So I'm trying to dry out my camel pack right now. It's just gonna have to sit aside. It's on a cup, a Coca-Cola cup right now. So just keep that in mind, that I do have a couple of glasses. I have 2 of those, I think, and one's in the dishwasher. Yeah, one's in the dishwasher. So, okay, so this is my cabinet for dishes. I'll just zone it for you. All my dishes, leftover containers, Tupperware type things that aren't storing food is in this cabinet. Anything that stores food is in this cabinet or this cabinet. I also have a little bit of appliances in here, and yeah, so it's food in this one. And this is the reason I put food in this one, is primarily because it's an internal wall and it doesn't get as cold. So there's no insulation in the walls in the kitchen. So that tends to come through the cabinet, especially this one. This is the most external cabinet, and so it gets very cold. That's why dishes are in there. And then this one, I think vision's decent, right? Okay. So this one, you'll see I have like long-term storage foods. It's flours, dried noodles. Hey, okay, so we totally lost the sounds through the vast majority of what I was doing, and I have no idea how to correct this particular problem. So we're gonna do our best to explain from where I left off audibly, and then maybe, I don't know, I might have to do some voiceover. I don't know what this is gonna be. It's a mess. It's a mess. So I checked the top deal and I forgot to check the one attached to the mic, and it died. The other one was fine. So very annoying. So where I was describing that I think I had finished, that this was where I kept all of these storage containers. You didn't get to see me declutter any of them or what I was talking about. You got to see it. You could see it technically, but no idea what I was saying. And then I already decluttered these 2 with no sound. So this one is where all of these bulk food containers were. And this is what we have put back. I'll close up on the finished product there. But about half of what's down here came, well, actually most of it that's down here came from there. Just seasonings came from this one so far, and we were left off in the middle of that shelf. I don't know how to recap this. I really don't. Let me just zoom in here and talk a little bit about what we did over here. So you'll notice that a lot of these are fast food or leftover type containers, right? We've got all of these over here, plus these, plus 2 over here. Can't hardly reach them. Yeah, for purely leftovers are these. And then I have quite a few lunch prep type stuff in the middle here. And, oh, and these for leftovers too. And then this is sort of what I would use for pesto to freeze. Gonna have a lot all over the place. I would use that to freeze like a big bulk thing down into single servings. So I have 2 of those. I also determined that I'm really not using most of the lids, the dessert plates, and one of the soup bowls I really don't need. I'm not using these water bottles anymore. I haven't yet used the cup here. I've been using that one instead that has a handle. This one's more commemorative. The other one I got from, what would you call it? Career fair. And so maybe we just swap those and we use this one instead of this one, just because it's a little more sentimental. So you get to see me do something. Isn't that exciting? Okay. I took away the glasses because I mostly use the Coke glasses and the plastic ones here. And what else? Several Tupperware products that I just haven't used lately. Like, so this and the little, what do you want to call that? Pitcher, the little pitcher. And the hamburger press, which I really like the hamburger press. It's a great idea. All of that's lost in video. But in college, I used to make the hamburger servings out, and then whether I wanted to make spaghetti or pizza or tacos or a hamburger, one serving was appropriate for all of those meals. And so it's really good for single people that are only making one meal, or they want to measure it out, because obviously you could throw 2 patties in there too. So it's easy to convert the raw hamburger into whatever the heck you want to make. And it's already cut into its servings. So I have decluttered down to almost nothing. And that's because of lifestyle changes where I'm not taking any food to work. I kept these 2 containers for cooking bacon still, and I would usually put them in the refrigerator. There's several containers in the freezer currently holding like cooked hamburger. I think there was a chicken, rotisserie chicken chopped up, that kind of thing. And so I'm using several in the freezer. I'm using several in the freezer already. So it's not like they're all gone. There's also many more in the basement. Let's see if I can stick this aside. I pulled out 3 bowls. So I still have 2 left in here, and I pulled out the large bowl from here. So this is based on what I have been using lately. That's all that's left. In that explanation, I also talked about my mast cell disorder. So I have mast cell activation syndrome. It's believed to be fairly common in various scales, but it's not commonly known. So what it does is, like, similar to migraines, you have triggers that are sort of allergy-based triggers, but they're not the same as allergies. It's a little weird that way. But through exposures, you can trip a reaction from like 5 exposures, right? It's not necessarily like one sets you off. You can have real allergies and still have all of this reaction going on, and it is an allergic response in your body to a non-allergy. It's weird. But because of that, I leave all of my meats frozen. That's what we discussed over here, that I really don't do leftovers anymore. So I've planned it so that my meats are prepped but frozen, and then I can make quick meals out of that. So I'll have like ground hamburger that is frozen and cooked, and I'll have rotisserie chicken chopped and frozen in there. And I will also have some raw hamburger because it does fine there too. Raw is technically better. You don't want to eat it raw, but it has less histamine in it when it's raw. So anyway, you cook it, it starts to spike, and then as it ages, it gets progressively, the rate at which it increases is higher than the rate at which you get histamine from raw. I don't know, it's weird. There's a graph. If you want to see it, you can look into it. It doesn't matter. The point is that required a necessity for me to keep proteins, especially frozen. I keep breads refrigerated because it just takes me a long time to go through them. And I specifically have to avoid soy. It's a big litter clutter. I don't want to say that. It's a big littered trigger. So one exposure to soy doesn't cause me much reaction, but it's just in so many things that it creates this sort of base elevation so that my tolerance is much lower. Then I have less room to be exposed to other things. And so by removing soy, it has created a lot more gap in my ability to tolerate other things, including nightshade vegetables, which are a big trigger for me. The disorder is different for everybody. There's some commonalities, but really the triggers are different, the reactions are different, the severity of the reactions are different. So don't pretend that this is something you can just mimic me and get good results. So I had to find this out over years. So keep that in mind, as you know, how I set up my kitchen and how I cook is really trying to go from frozen to cooked to ate with no leftovers as much as possible. So I do keep some meats in the fridge. They're cured, highly cured, like bacon and beef sticks is pretty much what I keep for meats in the fridge. And I try to minimize the amount of time cheeses are in the fridge, so they go from frozen to in the fridge, consumed in a couple of weeks. I try not to let them go much longer than that. And then milk and eggs are in there. And eggs I seem to do fine with. I haven't had any trouble that I know of with eggs, so. And milk products, normal, like other people. It's equally as safe to me to drink spoiled milk even, like it's just gross, right? So it's not gonna cause extra problems for me as far as I know. So you don't drink it, right? It's gross. So we just don't drink it. Basically, that's what I've ditched from this cabinet, is a lot of excess duplicates of things that I didn't need that many duplicates of, and then a lot of excess storage, food storage containers. Also things for like if I were gonna have guests, people, when they visit me, they want to eat out typically. So that means I'm not often cooking a meal for other people. So this is me trying to reach that top cabinet, which I can honestly say I can get my fingers on the very front edge of the bottom item on that top shelf, but I can't reach like the cups that are back there. So later I have to get a stool out to get to the cups. But we have a lot of the excess overflow storage containers there, and anything that would stack, I could pull down from the bottom one, the whole stack, and then replace the whole stack up. So I'm talking about these containers because I use them for soup, and the soup is not something that I've been making lately because of that intolerance to leftovers, basically. So, and I know that's a cop-out, but it's not that simple. It's just not worth getting into the complexity there. But if you're somebody like me who doesn't like leftovers, that's something to consider when you're figuring out what to eat and what to keep in your kitchen. So this is still finishing up the cabinet. I'm just placing things a little differently, seeing if there's a use of space that makes a lot more sense. But I pulled down, I would think that's at least half, if not more, of the things in there. So a huge win there. All right, we're jumping back over to the other cabinet. This one too, I lost all the audio for. So we're just gonna do a voiceover because I don't even think I remember to really summarize this. But this was the starting place. Yeah, I just had to put that away. Okay, I mentioned that later, by the way. So keep that in mind. But here's how it all started, where I have grains on the top. This is the beef ramen noodles that I use quite regularly. It's one of my quick meals. That was brown sugar I was trying to beat up there. I used the brown sugar and the powdered sugar, which were in the back around Thanksgiving time, and we're coming up on that again, and so I'll probably use these again. But that was what I was debating, that I literally have not used them since last Thanksgiving. I might have done it again at Christmas, but I really think I just made braids for Thanksgiving and shared them, brought one to the neighbor, and then I'll probably do that again. Not really sure how the holiday season's going to work out this time around, but that's what I'm debating in this scene, if you will, is once a year a good enough reason to keep these things on hand. If I had family nearby, I would totally borrow that stuff as I needed it, but I don't. So those are the nuts that actually I used last year, and I'm afraid that you'll get to watch me taste those in a bit. So I'm pulling out some raisin and other nuts, and I put a little tape label on there that says the date, and it's a Best By date in all those cases because they are the type of thing that it just kind of depends on how you store it as to how long it's good for. And inside that I had some nuts and seeds, and I didn't even remember that those seeds were purchased. I think it said 2019. So I don't remember why I got them or anything. So this is me pulling those out. I put the pine nuts back in thinking I could use those, but this is the pesto that I buy. And since it comes in such a small jar, I don't need to repackage it into those little freezer packs anymore. And also, I don't make my own because that doesn't fill in with any cashews. Cashews, it seems, kind of irritate my skin more. And so pine nuts are, the pure pine nut only as the nut and only olive oil as the oil is how pesto should be. So here I've pulled out lasagna noodles, and the lasagna noodles I make that chicken, it's a cheese based essentially, cheese, chicken, spinach. I think it's got like lemon juice in it, maybe some thyme. Basically, it's a really simple recipe, but that's what I use the lasagna noodles for. And those were regular lasagna noodles that were processed. I think they're just processed in a factory that contains soy, so it's not that the item itself includes soy. So I should be able to handle that level of cross-contamination. It's not that serious of an allergy in that regards, but I have bought some gluten-free noodles here, and they were made in gluten-free, soy-free, and something else free environment. And I think I had tried them out successfully before, and so my thought was that I keep those two instead and get rid of the older lasagna noodles and just swap them into the containers. The other was rotini, I think, noodles. So lasagna there and rotini I just set down. And that rotini noodles, I don't know that I've made anything with that in a while, but I can make my chicken pesto dish just as easily with that. I can't remember what was in that one. I think this is sugar, unbleached sugar, and brown sugar, maybe? Older brown sugar. So, more baking stuff that I've used even further back. So there I'm just showing how I use those containers to handle the blind corner. And if everything in front of it is in a container that I can remove easily, the blind corner's plenty easy to access and not completely wasted. So here I'm debating, like, when have I last used cacao? And that one I think was actually wild rice. And I used to sometimes swap that out as a side with steaks. But it's been a little while since I've cooked steak. No real reason for that. I think it's been probably about a year. I was getting really good deals on beef. I think like twice a year I could get really good deals, and I haven't found them lately, and I think that's really the only reason why I haven't done it. But there's a package of raisins in there, and then what I use the most often is the rice container, which I think is the bottom one, mostly empty, and then the quinoa on top. And I blend the two together, so I'm putting them back. And then that tub I just brought down is all sugars. Those are red beans I'm holding. And the red beans I tried to use once and failed miserably. I forgot to soak them. Bad idea. Bad idea. So, these are sugars. And I'm really just talking about like which ones I use, which ones I don't. This one's a honey, cinnamon honey, which is really good. And I'm blanking, but I used it on something that was phenomenal. But it's been a couple years ago. I haven't touched the sugars much last year because I went and did the whole Live Hard year. I didn't complete it, but I did the whole challenge, even started phase 3. I just wasn't able to finish phase 3. So I had a lot of time that whole year that I just wasn't consuming sugar. Not much sugar anyway. I'm sure there was in some of the stuff I ate, but I wasn't adding sugar. And then there's salt back there. And so here I'm talking about all the soy products and then the sugars that I really don't think I'll use that I've shoved to the side. And there's a row of them that I'm going to put back. But further back was this Chef Prep Ninja chopper thing. And it has like 3 different sizes. And I haven't used it. I think I had it almost exclusively to make homemade salsa. And then I was discovering that nightshades were a big problem for me. And that's, I'm not sure, but there's something about the processing of tomatoes that some forms of tomato is worse than others. So I've done really well with like Carlos O'Kelly's fresh salsa, but I don't do well with packaged salsas or marineras especially. There I go, trying that pecan. And at first, I knew it smelled a little off, but then, yuck. Yeah, it was horrible. I think it even made me cough a few times. And this whole package is full of teas. A lot of the teas, I forget they exist. And I just don't even drink them. So there's quite a few that I like occasionally, but pretty rarely. And so I'm not going through them very quickly. I'm also not terribly worried about their Best By days. They would lose a little bit of flavor, but not that big a deal. There are a couple in there, though, I think that are pure ginger teas, and I didn't like those. And so I do pull those out eventually. But the others were kind of strong teas, and I like those. I think I also ditched the linden flower because I never pulled for it. And it has a slightly, I think it's a bitter taste. So that's everything I pull out of that cabinet. And then I do believe we start into the second one. And you can see I keep my cooking implements in that top shelf, or not top shelf, the bottom shelf where the spices are. It just gets them up off the counter, makes it a cleaner look, and they're just as easy to grab. So I find that to be a good solution for trying to get stuff off your counter. Usually I'm only using one implement at a time. It's not like I go back and pull another one. But in this thing, I have 2 spatulas. That's what I'm showing with the flexible one and a stiff one. I have a slotted spoon and then a deep spoon. And the pasta, what do we call that? Pasta scoop thing. And we have my favorite fall tea. And I pulled out sea salt earlier. So this is protein powder, and the protein powder I got last year during the 75 hard challenge because I was recognizing how hard it was to get enough protein, the recommended amounts based on my goals. And I thought this would be a good solution, but so much of the powder has things in it that could trigger me. This one I think didn't. It was vanilla flavored, and I just could not figure out how to work it into the way I eat without adding additional calories, which would not have been beneficial. So, this was me checking over the olive oil, trying to remember the last time I used it, which was disgustingly long time ago, actually. So, I pretty much decided it's rancid. Who knows if it is, but since it had been so long, it probably was. And then I have some, I think that was vanilla, and then electrolyte drops. And these are the spices that I keep in my cabinet. And I'm just kind of trying to figure out which ones I actually use regularly enough to keep. There's several in there that I was trying when I was trying to figure out what I was having issues with. Because I might have issues with 5 spice, for instance, but that's a combination of spices. And so then I would get each one separately and test them to try to see if I can figure out which ones were causing me problems. So after all of that, these things were still in my cabinet there, but yet I now know which ones I don't tolerate well. One of those is dried garlic. So dried herbs also increase histamine, so that's a problem, but it's not across the board a problem with all of them. So it's just kind of up to you, your own body. It's not a choice you can make, but your own body reacts differently to things. So for instance, any kind of nightshade dried is a nightmare for me. Chipotle is full out dangerous. That one's probably a true allergy, and jalapeno too, because that is the same pepper. People have had many confusions about that, but Chipotle is the dried jalapeno. So yeah, that's a problem in restaurants sometimes. I kind of have to list them both as if they're separate. So these are labels that go on those pop containers. And then this is a cherry jam or preserve, I think. And I don't know why I got a cherry. It might have been by accident. I don't particularly like cherry, so it's a little weird. So I'm going to move the camera over to give you a better view of the end result here. Sorry for the craziness. But pretty soon we'll be moving on to the uppers, and we'll have audio back. Because after this shelf is when I finally figured out what the heck was going on. So I'm just putting everything back, and I'm not really being terribly organized about it. I'm just putting it back where it'll fit. And then, yeah, we'll move on to the second shelf together. But that's everything I pulled out of those 2 cabinets so far down there on the table, which is about where I picked up. So now I'm adjusting so you can see the second shelf. And I started pulling some stuff out. So we left off in this cabinet. You can't see the top shelf yet. I'll have to reposition, but I just want to show what I pulled out. So I have sugars. I put back in there stuff that was baking just for Thanksgiving and Christmas time, because that season is approaching, and this is when I'll use it again. But I have not used it between now and last year. But it's flour and sugar and things like that, and I tested it. It was good. I ate that horrible nut. It was not good. We threw it away. So the nuts have gone bad, it seems. So even these pine nuts probably suspect. So I've put other nuts into the freezer. I'll do that to extend the life of that, but these were not in there, so they're probably toast. So we're back into this cabinet and we're going through this level, and what we discovered is that the applesauce is, you know, it looks kind of weird, right? It's dark, but it was best before 23, March of 23. So it's been a while. We're gonna throw them away. They're probably edible technically, but I'm not eating them and they're suspect to me now. So we pitch them. And next time I will probably, I don't know if I'm even gonna replace the applesauce. I was using applesauce to take with pills that needed to have food with them for better tolerance. And I haven't been having to take a lot of that medicine. So I have other options. Maybe we just won't do that. And then I have some more tea that I like. This is the season for this tea. And we have olives. This is some more tea. One of these, I think only one of them doesn't have caffeine, so that's, I'm not sure. This one's kind of an odd taste, but it's good. We have olives back there, a can of chicken, 2 things of rice. This is all olives up here, so I kept forgetting that I had already bought olives, and I keep getting more olives, so that's for tacos. These I'm sure are stale. I haven't bought those packs of chips in a long time, so and that's spoons back there for traveling, which, or for, yeah, it's just spoons. It's for to go, basically. So I'm gonna put that with lunch stuff that we're packing away. So just gonna put all the olives together, see if we can separate out so we can see what we got. That's a pop tab one. I think these, yeah, those are all pop tabs too. This is a bag I use for popcorn, which I'm out of at the moment, but it's just like using lunch bags, and it's buttery. And unfortunately, if you start from a fresh bag, your popcorn tends to burn. So the buttery, oily bag is actually, it works better. So I don't have any popcorn makers. I don't buy reusable popcorn bags. I just dump popcorn into a bag, fold the bag once, pop it in for the popcorn setting, plus 30 seconds because I put it on a plate, and then off we go. Okay, so here is cream of chicken. I think these 2 things are for a recipe my mom wanted me to try, and I haven't gotten around to it yet. Do I even have the recipe? I think, did she email it to me? I feel like it would be in here. Maybe it's this thing. Nope, that's not it. Is it that? No. Avocado sauce. Don't know what I'm doing with that. Is this chicken? No, that's not it. So I may not even have the recipe that I swear she sent it to me somehow. Chicken. I forget even what it was. It was like it was a ranch chicken something or other. So I need to find the recipe for that. I'm not going to deal with books today. I'm calling the recipe books their own thing, but I've been looking into some possible solutions. So most of the cookbooks I have here, you'll notice, are America's Test Kitchen. Almost all of them are. I only have like a little desserts one or something. Yeah, super salads in this cookbook, which is for my cookware. It gives you some conversions, that kind of thing. And then this guy. Otherwise, everything is America's Test Kitchen. There's a lot of repeat recipes in here. And I can sign up for a 14-day trial and download them all for free, I think. That's what it's looking like. I could download my favorite recipes for free and then off with the book, which would make a lot of sense because even though you see quite a few flags in here, a lot of these are like, oh, this looks like a good thing to try and I haven't tried it. So we're dealing with those another day. Same with the recipes down here. I think my goal would be to get it into the binder, make it all fit. So this is my towels. So that's where I keep extra hand towels for the kitchen. And then this is about to become relevant. It's mostly a bunch of paper bags. There's the one for the popcorn, which I really don't want to keep, but the other ones, it'll just taint them. And then I keep the bag of popcorn in here, but also we have hot chocolate. So that's going to become relevant soon. So I'm keeping that for now as well. So that is it for that cabinet. Let me see if I can give you a little raise up to take a look. There's no practical way for me to show you everything in here. It's just such a tiny kitchen, but we're gonna move down. Gotta get the feet level. Gonna move over here and look at this cabinet next. Okay, so I have butter here, recipes there, the show there. I'm calling, the butter's staying. It's either staying here or it's moving into the other cabinet. But we're calling everything else recipes and books, and we'll do it another time. So up here, this is what this looks like. And I have a blog showing in detail how I did the first down declutter. So let's see, we got some more. This is what I make that lasagna with, which I mentioned and it wouldn't have been recorded. It's a spinach and cheese and chicken lasagna. And so I need 2 of the dishes plus this in order to make it. And we're keeping the lasagna noodles for that. This is for a dessert. I used to make like the cheesecake in a box, and I think that's about the only reason I have this. Wow, it has got so many scuffs on it. Oh, you know what that is? That's the stoneware. I've been storing it inside the stoneware, and it's scuffing it up pretty bad. So, I don't know if you can see those little scratches all over the place. So we're gonna put this aside too, because I think I really haven't used it. I don't want to set it on there, but we're okay, stuff's falling. Also, I have cooked bacon on the 2 flat pans over there, but I have not used these since I tried an egg bake quite a while ago, and actually you can see the egg didn't come out very well. Maybe you can't see, but there's egg in there still. So they didn't really come clean. I think I probably didn't use this one. I used this one because it's clean still. But I didn't really like the egg bake all that well, at least not fresh. So I don't need to make it in that quantity. So we're gonna go ahead and tuck them away as well. I'm afraid they're just gonna collapse on everything. And then we have, these are dividers for the freezer bins. I don't think we need them, we can tuck them away. I've been using that for a while, and I think they were just there in case I needed them. It might also be for the fridge bins. So this is the blade that I use the most often on the cheese grater. But there are a stack of other ones over here that I really only use it to grate cheese, but they have quite a few for different vegetables. Flat ones, like if you want to do potatoes, whatever. all kinds of different things. I never use these other ones. I think there was a time where I used 2 different kinds, but basically not anymore. So I could just leave this with the grater on. Oh, this is just a pile of mess over here. So yeah, I don't think I can do this from outside. Okay, did I get it? I think I got it. I don't know if you can see, it doesn't look like you can. There's a little lip back there that actually keeps the grater from being able to sit the other direction, which is how I was used to it sitting every other place I've lived, because it's easier to grab from the stem that way. But because of the orientation of the electrical outlet back there and that little block in the back of the cabinet that's low for mounting it, keeps me from being able to do that way. So it sits like that. That's all that's in that corner. Then there's the toaster, the glass pans that won't nest together, so they're sitting like that, the mix and pour thingy, my, what do you call that, stoneware, and then 2 large pans, flat pans. So that's what I've got for baking. And mostly there's not much to get rid of there, so pulled a few things out. I have 4 steak knives. By myself, I don't actually need 4 steak knives, but I don't know what the point of removing them would be. Really, it would just free up space on the block, so it's not a big difference. Then I have 2 chef's knives and 1 paring knife. And I pretty much like this setup. I have this knife protector thing. I don't know that I need it. It was a gift, but I haven't even had much chance to use it yet. Then I have the full silverware set, which I think is, if I'm not mistaken, is that more than 8? Yeah, it might be 16. Oh, it looks like it's 12, which is kind of a little odd. So we could reduce that. What's a sensible number for 1 person plus sometimes guests? Can you do 6? Or 4? Should we do 4? Because, truth be told, we have 2 different sizes as well, right? So, niece and nephew probably can use the little spoons. So let's just say we're gonna only leave 4. I don't know that I even used these at all. So again, niece and nephew, 4 of these. We're just gonna reduce. Okay, we're pushing our luck over here. I'm gonna move this over here. All right, so I have 2 pairs of chopsticks is what I've kept. Underneath, oh yeah, knives. We just do 2 and 2, and we're done. Or we put the chopsticks in there. But if we're being really strict, I don't think I have used the chopsticks. I'm not even, these are nice Japanese ones with the little ringlets on them. Or the little, it won't let me show anything off hardly. There we go. So, I don't know. I'm not likely to eat. And then I have this can opener, assist thing. And in the corner there, I do have some zip ties and rubber bands, which I don't think I've used, so they're gonna go. I don't know what that is. It's some kind of dining thing? I don't know. And then I have no idea what this is either. Some kind of weird rubber deal. So that's gonna be where the guard goes. You can put the chopsticks in here, but I should remove them. The scissors we use all the time. I try not to get cans that require a can opener, but just every once in a while, I think, like we had that chicken soup one in here. It's a pop tab too, so. And so is the chicken. I don't know, for some reason, for a while I was having to, but that is almost avoidable now. And this is for labeling expiration dates on food. So I have the Sharpie, the tongs. Have I used them? I think I did, but I can't remember what it was for. I have my cheese slicer for fancy cheese. I haven't used it in a while. We have the grater, which I have used, the measuring thing, the scraper for the griddle. I really haven't been eating much for vegetables either, which is a little wild. So I think that lets me reduce that much. And then really I have this guy for juices or milk products. You can froth with it, but it's a hand frother thing. And then I have the full stack of measuring cups and then a meat tenderizer. I have trouble with this type of thing that I rarely use, but every once in a while it is exactly the right thing to use. Oh, household cleaner. See, I don't even see it there. Single use, ultra concentrated. Combine. Clean wood and other surfaces, all plastic and fabric. I don't know if I could ever remember that. Okay, so that was the drawer. Now I'm gonna push it back and we're gonna do some other spaces. And look at all the stuff. We've already filled the counters with everything to go. What the hell is that? Oh my gosh, more hiding stuff from the kids. But in the kitchen, really? Come on. Okay, so here's my one and only cutting board. And then I have my saute pan. My sister actually was kind of interested in it, so I might lend it to her for a bit and see if I can do without it, which leaves that precariously on top. And then I have my medium saucepan, which I use all the time, the lid sometimes. I haven't been using the, I'm blanking on the name of this, colander version of it. So we'll pull it out. Might as well be more aggressive. Definitely use this though. I think I don't have the clearance. I would have to lower the shelf, which I could. I think I can do. There's some settings though, not necessarily full settings. And then I have Ziploc bags right there. Oh yeah, it has to come out. You can't see any of this. This is problems, I tell you. Okay, I have a George Foreman here. Let me see if I can just get this out of the way for you. So these are wire shelves. They have soft close. The George Foreman I use for steaks. And my gallon bags usually sit in there nicer. I guess they have to buckle slightly to sit down in there. So I use the big skillet all the time. And this lid fits both the big skillet and the big pan. And I'll want the lid, but I don't think I've used the big pan, probably actually for cleaning the last time I used it. So we're gonna pull that out too. Is that silly to just have 2 pans left? A skillet and a saucepan? I don't know. The only downside is I might have to bring up a slightly smaller skillet to replace the saute pan. I don't know that I'm gonna miss the edges of the saute pan, but I might miss not having to heat the whole. That's gonna be a problem. The other pot actually helps hold that one in place, so that could be an issue. Looks okay. All right, we're ready for the tip out. Okay, tip out has scrubby. Why do I have another strainer? I don't think this is necessary to have yet a different, it's a different kind, but to have another one. This one you raise it up a little bit. We have the scraper for the stove. We need to replace the blade, but we need that. This scrubby and this scrubby. The disposal block. And then the flat scrapers for the Corningware, the stoneware. I have 2 of them. I don't feel like the 2 hurt anything. It's about time to loosen these screws, pull the thing out, and put it in the dishwasher. It's looking a little grimy in there. Don't look too close, guys. And then when the washcloth has dried out, I fold it and stick it back in here. And so there's one for, and then I've got a scrub brush. This is no longer for food. It's now really more of a surface scrub brush, cleaning things. And this is a scraper for, I think it's something I don't have anymore. So we should get rid of that too. Because the other scraper for the George Foreman was in here, right here. I melted it a little bit, I think, but it'll still work. Okay, that's gross. We need to clean it. But this is not a cleaning video. This is an extreme decluttering video. Okay, as I mentioned before, this is my drawer dishwasher. It pulls out like a drawer, and then it acts pretty much like the base drawer of your dishwasher with little pull-out things to help the flutes. And a little caddy for silverware. My count's gonna be off, guys. That's 2 large forks. So we need to ditch 2 more. Oops. Okay, into the drawer. Now the drawer is kind of packed with things that I don't use a ton. So this is a little tricky. So I use the slow cooker instead of the stovetop pot now to make stew, beef stew. The knife sharpener is down here because it's an occasional use item. I don't sharpen my knives every time I use them. I know you're supposed to, but we have Glad. Okay, so this is parchment paper, cling wrap, and aluminum foil. And then I have all of these little stasher bags that I keep forgetting about. And then the vacuum seal, which helps me. I need the actual bags for the vacuum sealer thing, because that helps me seal up meat. So if I mass buy meat, then I can freeze it and store it raw. So that's what I do with that mostly. And then I collect these for people who can turn them in for donations. This is my pasta strainer. And this is the bowl that I was referring to that you probably couldn't hear because I use it for popcorn. And then also dough rising, it's a baking bowl too, so that's what the lid would be for. So we're keeping that. The thing would be the stasher bags. Let's pull this stuff out and work up a little higher because that is really low. Okay, We don't know what we're doing. So I have this tiny little piece of parchment paper. I don't know what I was thinking. I stuffed it back in there. We're gonna pitch it. I have these couple of parchment sheets. Those can actually be used. I think I was using those on the lasagna to keep the dishes clean because they will fit those bowls nicely. So I've got these stasher bags. This one's a stasher bag. This is a different brand that I wanted to try. It's called Full Circle. So I haven't tried them out yet. I don't like how difficult it is to clean in the ridge on the stasher bags. I find these, like, they collect soap pretty bad, and I can't see through them like you can a Ziploc bag. And so this brand I looked at, and I don't know that the seam will be any better, but I needed more quart size. So I have these. I can't remember that I have them. But the idea would be that they're used like the vacuum bags. So at least I think that was my plan. I don't know if I can use this size at all. I think we just have to let this one go. It was the only one I could afford. They're so expensive, but it's such a useless size. So I think we have to let that one go, and we'll try these out. Can I remember them? Let's put them with the vacuum sealer maybe. I don't know. Do I put them with the Ziplocs over here? And then these are Ziploc steamer bags. To date, I still haven't opened them, so clearly that's not how I'm gonna do my veggies. So we'll let those go too. And then in here we have a couple of extra, and there's another one here. It's wild. I had a pop tab escape and another smoothie straw. So I have 2 smoothie straws and 2 regular straws in here. And then this one, it goes to something. It's a plastic straw that goes to a bottle that I think I removed already and was maybe like, I could use the straw. We're gonna get rid of the fork. Don't need it. I could maybe ditch the regular straws and just hang on to the smoothie ones because those are kind of rare to come by. I have milkshakes, but do I ever make them myself? It's pretty rare. And I wouldn't miss not having them. So, okay, those are going too. Be logical. Now this plastic straw, I really do think it goes with something else. I never remember it's in here, so then we're down to things that don't even fit in the bin well. I've got the half spatula and a full spatula, and then the the meat fork. I don't think I've ever used it. So we can go ahead and move it to the basement too, where the rest of the set is, because I'm not seeing any real reason why I would use it. Maybe if I started doing, I feel like you could replace it though, like in most situations. So if I were to buy a roast or something, if you cooked it correctly, you can easily pull it apart with a regular fork, right? So the bin is possibly useless now, but I do think we need to keep the 2 spatulas for the limited baking that I do, because being able to clean out a small jar is very practical when you live alone and you only use small jars, and then a regular size one for stirring, mixing, all that jazz. So we didn't really reduce a lot in this drawer. Is that helpful? Or should we go up close? What? There we go. What do you think? Not a lot of reduction, but it is a little reduced. And there's really, oh, the baking. I need the rolling pin. That's helpful. So I got a little one to better fit in there, but yeah, that should get us. All right, so off to the last useless shelf. Just kidding. It's not useless. I shouldn't say that. that cabinet up there, which I have to open the refrigerator doors to reach, like that. So we have a little tiny lasagna pans that I used to use to make like single servings of that chicken lasagna, which were great for take and go. But I cut down the bigger ones now, so no problem. We'll get rid of those. I have no other purpose for them. So we've got one bread pan that I'm using to hold napkins that I can't even reach, which is a little ridiculous. And then you can see I throw napkins up here too. So I think some extra stuff wound up here because my niece and nephew were breaking things, so that'll go. And I think we can go ahead and get rid of the pan full of napkins. I can't see myself making bread. I don't have to now that I know that soy was the problem. Oh, okay, in here, I have a pickle container and a salad spinner in the fridge. So I just leave in the fridge because my fridge is barren, basically. And I might opt to continue to just leave them in there. Right now, I'm not eating salads. So let's ditch the salad spinner. We've got little ice pack things that I keep in the fridge. The pickle thing, I think I'll hang on to a bit longer. It's a nice salad spinner. But I'm not eating salads. What are you gonna do? Okay, so these will go back in here. Okay, so the bottom drawer is empty. The second drawer is almost empty, and then the rest is all food and stuff, so we're not gonna deal with it. And then you can see I have even more lunch bags because I'm really not going through them very fast. What did I see that I needed to move? Oh, this thing, parchment paper I forgot to put in the drawer. Parchment paper. Okay, and then we got the lunch box. And I have a lunch box downstairs. Oh, that's a shelf from the refrigerator. What else are you gonna do with it, right? I could put it downstairs though. Is there a point in having a lunch box? I think there is. I have two right now, I think. I have this huge one in the basement. And I don't know that there's a point to that one, so I think we'll keep this one for now. And then the Instapot I traded, a large one, for this itty bitty one. I haven't even had a chance really to use it. It's not that I haven't had it long enough to have a chance. I haven't been making the stuff that I would make in it. So this is the season where we'd start that. I'm just gonna leave it because it's not hurting anything right there. And then extra water was when my water meter broke. Was that 2 years ago now? I think it was 2 years ago now. My water meter blew out the bottom, and so I was without water for a week. I was away when it happened and they shut off my water, but then it had to stay off because there was no water meter. Nothing to catch it. So I did at least have one spigot before the water meter that I could fill up to flush the toilets with for a while, and then I drank out of that, and that's how I got by for the week it took to replace it. Maybe 2 weeks to replace it. I think we were able to get that part fixed pretty fast, and then the water repair took longer. So are you ready to see the damage? Let me repack some stuff, put it away, and I'll do a scan of the room for you. Okay, so everything on the counter is what we are going to move into the basement for the time being in quarantine, except for food. Food is just gonna go. The containers we'll hang on to for a little bit yet. Also the implements. Some silverware there. You see the muffin tin. These are just empty boxes now, but there's some cookware behind them. Those are the noodles I had to dump from the container. And that is everything that is going from the kitchen today. I forgot to show you what's under the sink, and I don't put any food items under the sink, but over here is my wet recycling, and then the trash can you can see kind of overflowing there. Underneath there's a little pan. See if we can pick that mess up. Okay. So underneath we've got two little dish pans. One's a draining one and one's not. Then that little over the sink draining pan there with cleaners in it. So there's one for my steel cookware and the dish soap, the rinse aid, and then trash bags are under there as well. And that's what I keep under the sink. So I didn't mean to not show that, I just forgot. Hey everybody, so I'm in the basement now, and I'm gonna show you the stuff that I've already quarantined once before, and we'll see if there's some obvious goes versus, oh man, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. The lighting's horrible down here. So we're gonna see if there's some obvious goes and if there's stuff I still wanna hang on to because it's seasonal or I just don't know what to do with it yet. There's probably gonna be some of those that I'm just not in the headspace to deal with right now, AKA the KitchenAid. So I have quarantined this stuff from the kitchen as well. It's a little mishmash here because that's packing, and those are moving strips. But these big containers came from the kitchen. I guess that's it actually. Not a lot in that regards. So these are very large leftover containers. Probably dead bugs in there now. I think they're equal. Well, this last one is bigger, but these two I think are equal size. So 2 here, and then this one, and 3 lids. So we're all set up. And I can't even tell you when the last time I needed a container this large was. I don't like to, because I freeze so much stuff, I don't like to keep things in huge chunks. I'd rather freeze it in portions where I can pull out and thaw a portion at a time instead of having to reheat and then refreeze and reheat and refreeze. So I think we can go ahead and say goodbye to these now. And then I have this large container that obviously goes with the set that's upstairs. And I was keeping something else in it that's not even, like toys or something in it maybe? I'm not sure. So I might have a similar purpose like that. I might actually use this to pull out some of the magnet tiles. That's probably what I'll do. Use that to separate a few magnet tiles out so that the kids can't get into all of them at the same time and make such a bad mess. I think this is empty. It feels empty. So we'll just set it aside. This is a cable box, so we're not going to deal with that. This is the knife set. So that fork will come back and join the rest of the knife set. Actually, I think the sharpener is what goes in this one. So there are quite a few knives that I removed because I just don't use them. I don't know if it's helpful to see which ones, but I don't know what the deal is. We must have a fire or something. Ambulance is trying to honk their way through. Yeah, okay, so most of this set is up there. This is the fork, and I think this is a meat cutting knife, which I didn't actually think was up there. And then this is the sharpener. So I'm not sure what I had from the other set up there, but supposedly I do have something else. This is not related. This is more Christmas. Do I have room? Let's put some stuff together. I think I threw that stuff back in there. Christmas present wrapping stuff. I think I have a few pieces. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna put those down there. This is the rest of my Corel set. So we're gonna add the pieces into here. And as you can see, I've done away with, I haven't needed an awful lot of my Corel pieces. So maybe it's time to go ahead and sell these mismatches. And then we'll just come add the rest of the pieces here. So I keep these for when guests are gonna come visit or something, if I wanted to actually have a dinner party. But I haven't been doing that a lot. Of course, I have lived in this house during the COVID time frame this whole time so far. And people are not really doing parties. The knife block is here, which I'm not ready. I don't know what to do. That's the breaking up a set problem, right? So I have a hard time still, like I do it. I will break up a set, but I have a hard time breaking up sets still. I think this is, yeah, this is also kitchen stuff. Okay. So I'm not sure what to do with the knife block because I don't know how many of the other knives I'm ready to get rid of yet permanently. So far I'm keeping them for special occasions that haven't come up. I don't really even use, I think even when I need a bread knife, I don't use a bread knife. I use like the serrated meat knife or something. So I can get by with a lot of other things. We have extra coffee cups. I think I have 2 upstairs. This is the extra storage containers I was talking about. That again might have been deleted. And then these oval containers, which did I keep any of those up there? I think this was the size I was talking about switching the tea into. And here is the scissors container, but the scissors are up there. And then we have a bunch of lids. We can probably get rid of this now too. What was the other weird thing down here? Oh, a baster. I've used that, I think one recipe required it. And it's been a little while. And you kind of get by without it, so. I'm not cooking out of recipes right now, which is the problem, but I'd like to review this after the recipe books. See whether I can make that a more manageable mess. And then this cup I've been without for a while, so we can let that one go too. The Tupperware is a little harder because they're not freebie stuff. But I'd be tempted to look at getting rid of this oval set. Because I think maybe now I am not using them. And these things, I'm using 2 of them right now for tea and then one in the bathroom. I could probably find something else to swap them with and perhaps get rid of this whole set. So let's move them. I'm gonna have to find them in pieces because they're all over. But let's move them into this bag and we'll put those on the chopping block. This stuff is unrelated. It's housewares. Put it here. Yeah, so this stuff will go. These things will go. I'll see if family wants them first, maybe. This I'm going to try to use for toys. And if not, it'll go too. So I gotta remember to bring that upstairs. We got a bread maker here. I think my extra pots and pans are what's back there. So I'm maybe not doing as bad as I thought I was. This is my Christmas wreath. Ornaments, ornaments. So yeah, I think just the pans and that one. And the bread maker, which is actually my mom's, mom and dad's, and they're divorced, so now that's messy. But my dad has diabetes, and my mom's on keto, so nobody needs a bread maker. I could see if my sister wants it, perhaps. She just, with the kiddos, she just does not have the time for it. So we're gonna haul these upstairs and then see if we can bring down Corel stuff first, perhaps. I'm surprised there's not more of these round. You don't suppose they're in with dishes? It's possible. So the bread machine is not mine to get rid of. I have to ask some other people, and my dad will absolutely say no and make me at least bring it to him. He's a hoarder. Oh. Okay. All right. This is not what I was expecting. Do we want to bring up a skillet? There's a skillet. So I have the giant Tupperware bowl in here too, the Dutch oven lid, and the two smaller pots that you would use as a double boiler. So this is all kind of specialty cookware, but maybe I've freed up enough room. No, probably not. The big pot's gonna take a lot of space. So we're gonna go up with these and come down with others. I'll be right back. Big pots. And I'm a little afraid I don't actually have the room for them. And inside the pot is my silverware, so we have to figure that out too. Okay, hold that back there, but for now, I think that's what we want to do. Okay, we're doing a little Reiki jigga. We're gonna bring some storage containers down. Putting stuff down here that doesn't even need to be down here officially. But it's really the best way to get it this far away, is really the best way to know whether you truly can live without something. Because if it's in easy reach, you're gonna keep pulling it. So this is why I like to quarantine stuff in the basement, because it's not convenient and we're all too lazy to go to the basement. I mean, you can try to tell me otherwise, but I'm just not gonna believe you. So we're gonna stuff the lovely expensive Tupperware stuff especially. I thought I had more of these guys, so I must have already parted with some of them permanently, which is interesting. Don't know what to make of that exactly, but I wish I had a better idea of how to get the baking pans in there. It looks like I won't be able to, so they're just gonna have to sit on top. Wait, can we get that in there? Yes, that's better. Okay. So at least that stuff is sitting down. Reduces the chances of bugs crawling on everything. And back up. Okay, so the only thing that I have up there that I'll still need to bring down are storage containers for the food and the oval ones I'm cleaning out, which hopefully I'll get rid of. And that'll be the end of that. So there's just the pop top storage containers yet that I will probably keep down here for a while until I figure out finally what kinds of foods I want to keep. But yeah, we'll go back upstairs and show you the results. All right, here we are. Everything put back away except what I'm donating in the other room. Quite a bit of stuff. And we're all closed up. So I'm gonna pop all of the storage locations open and let you see the final result. This just goes to show that a small kitchen always looks horrific on video. So This is what we ended up with in the deep drawer. Mostly the same, a few items picked out of the small bin. And you'll notice I put some soup containers back because I did keep soup stuff. So that closes those up. And then we move into, let's do down here. We really didn't change anything down here. So we can go ahead and close that up. And the drawer. Pulled a few things out of here and some of the silverware out of the silverware container there. Got rid of the little debris in and around. That's silverware. And then here we swapped out the saute pan for a little skillet with a lid. I don't know that I'll actually need the lid. And then I pulled out the large stock pot from that shelf. And that's what that container looks like. That's in the blind corner cabinet. There's nothing in the drawer under the oven because I was never able to get it clean from the original homeowner. Here's the corner shelves. The blind corner is on the right. Let's see if we can get it to zoom in a little bit. Reduce some cans and stuff from the shelves there. Got rid of some seasonings. And over here we pulled out some small appliances, some of the grains, and we didn't go all the way back with items. So there's very little on that top shelf at all. And those are done. And then up here we pulled a pan out, the pie pan and the extra blades. And that's all we've removed from here. Oh, and the muffin tins. And then over above the fridge, we pulled out several baking pans and left the rest. And that is the small kitchen. The end result. Sorry, I'm gonna close the door. I'm gonna have to open that again. The end result of our extreme decluttering here. Okay. Well, thanks for hanging out with me today and going through my minimalist kitchen. I would have said it was minimal before, largely because of the size. I did have space between things that they weren't falling out, but there really wasn't a lot of extra space. Now there is quite a bit, but we are carrying the bulk of the excess in the basement. And so some of that stuff, we want the time will tell aspect, right? So we're putting it out of sight, out of mind for a while to test whether it's valuable if we want it. And if not, I'll probably come back, get rid of the stuff I don't want. But if we do want it, I'll probably be using these upper zones that we emptied to store the excess in, assuming they'll even fit, because some of the large pots, they can't go into an upper. I think as soon as I put in these Reva shelves, there is no spot that they fit actually at all. So that's part of the reason why some stuff wound up down there. But in reality, if I'm not using it, I might keep the large stock pot, just because sometimes I even boil for cleaning. And that's the only one that could do it besides the wok, which would be a little ridiculous. But so we might keep a few large things overflow. I kind of think even the small stock pot or the large stock pot could fit in an upper. I'm not positive though. But we've definitely created some empty space. I'm also going to hang on to the excess pop lid containers just to see whether there's still some more things I want to contain or change the containers of. And yeah, we pretty much, that's the thing, it looks the same on the outside, right? With everything closed up, it really does look the same. It didn't change anything at all, especially because we didn't really hit that open storage at all. So The space is not much different. We've got one little picture over there, window, window, door, door. You know, it is what it is. It's a small kitchen. So it's not super tiny. I've had smaller kitchens. I had what was called a 3/4 kitchen. That was fun. It was one wall, probably the size of this wall. And it had I can't remember anymore if it was a 3/4 oven or a 3/4 fridge. It was like a half of one and a 3/4 of the other. So I'm not really sure which was which. Probably 3/4 fridge, half oven. I don't know. It was kind of weird. And then it had a little sink. And so there was almost no counter to work with because of all of that, the appliances they're trying to shove on that one wall. So I am used to and aware that I can make do in that small of a space. I wasn't making anything gourmet by any means, but I still don't really make anything gourmet. So I appreciate having this extra counter space. Just even getting that extra add-on here was huge for how my kitchen functions. But I've had no problems since downsizing. It's amazing how many gadgets we've created that are solving problems that really weren't problems. It's like, you know, this might be a little bit faster, but it's not really much different. So yeah, a lot of times I don't use mixers, but I also don't bake a lot. So we have to take that into account. And we talked a little bit about the different styles of eating and stuff. And if you're bringing things from much rawer ingredients to a finished product, you're gonna need a little bit more of that. You'll notice I don't have a pestle. I don't have a, isn't it mortar and pestle? Whatever. I don't have things to grind herbs from scratch. I don't have chive cutters. Like I don't have specialty things really at all. I don't have special egg products. So I like things simple and I don't care if my food touches. So if you're the opposite, you might have to take those things into consideration, that your food needs are going to be different, your cooking needs are going to be different, and the space needs are going to be different. But for me, when I'm trying to get all my proteins frozen, cooked to frozen, or raw to frozen, and then cooked fast and ate, no leftovers, that kind of a system, this actually is pretty much the best layout options. You know, the things that I haven't needed more without guests coming in huge parties. I'm not the host because I'm so much further away in a different direction than everybody else is in my family. So nobody wants to come visit me for the holidays. They'll visit. I'm kidding. They'll visit, but I'm not the major host for huge events, right? So got to take that into consideration too. So hosting could change things for you. I highly recommend, if you host occasionally, that you keep that stuff away as well, like I'm doing in my basement, just because it makes the living space here easier and clearer and quicker to deal with. And I've got to say, I'm a huge fan of the drawer dishwasher. Never knew the thing existed before I was trying to find a solution for my tiny kitchen. I didn't want to only have one blind corner cabinet for lowers, and the drawer has helped a lot because it fits a slow cooker, right? That's huge, huge help down there. I can also put the huge salad bowls down there. I think I even had the huge wok stacked with the huge salad bowl in there, and it all worked out really well. So if you're in a tight space and you want that simplicity of being able to wash overnight and you have still quite a few dishes, look into it. It's not a bad solution. It's kind of expensive, but they all are anymore. You're thinking it's smaller, it should cost less. That's not going to be the case. And then you do have to worry about what would you replace it with. You'd have to you'd probably cut this cabinet out too, just because it's a drawer underneath. And so the opening is probably, I don't know. I'm not a contractor. You can't ask me on that, sorry. But finding a new one to replace it with might be unreliable, because right now, as far as I know, there's only one brand in the US that's carrying drawer dishwashers. So you might also not have any choice of color, because I've noticed that white disappeared somewhere in there. So they make black. In the last several years, they have made black, silver, well, you know, stainless steel kind of look. And I think it was aluminum though, or chrome or whatever, and white. And seems like a couple years ago I went looking because somebody asked a question about it, and the white had completely disappeared from the shelves. So that could have just been a supply chain issue, or it might be the trends in kitchens that everybody likes their appliances to be stainless steel. I picked all my appliances on this side to be white. I didn't change the stove. The stove came white with the black cooktop, and I suppose I would change to the white cooktop probably, but I chose to stick with white on that side just so there wasn't this high contrast making the room look even smaller. But I didn't have any choice on the refrigerator, so the refrigerator is stainless steel, and that's because I needed the counter depth. So, you know, you do what you can. I feel like the kitchen's worked really well for me. The cabinets go all the way to the ceiling, in case you couldn't see that earlier. And we have under cabinets, air conditioning, whatever, the vent is under the cabinets. And then it's a walkway central here. You don't have to walk through the kitchen much, right? You're not in the cooking space. You just door to door, the refrigerator's the thing that's cut off. So it's high traffic. I often just dump stuff on the stove to be put away, but I try to get it put away timely so that it stays nice and clean like this. And it is quite bright. It looks a little over bleached on the screen to me, but it is a really bright room, and the windows are like perfect for moving air. You just open these two and whoop, your smoke's gone. No problem. Don't even need that vent up there. So I really enjoy my kitchen. I would love to hear your feedback on this, if you can relate to it, if it's very helpful at all in the context of how different my eating might be from you guys. But I hope you found some little tidbit there that you could latch onto, and it helped you also with your kitchens. Thank you. Bye.